Technically, this video should be the last one of September, but I guarantee that those of you who are actually watching this won't even be doing so until at least the calendar page turns to October. In that case, let's turn these October videos into a fun little experience, shall we? I mean, I have to give you all the boring stuff like curriculum, but at least I can jazz it up with a bit of Halloween-y fun, right? Dance like no one is watching, just like this guy. It's just eerie, isn't it? As always, here's the weekly announcement. Again, the video will be changed once I finish this video, but you've got the lead-in, you've got the video, you've got the chapter listings of the video, what to look ahead to. So the research essay isn't due this week, it's due next week. We've got the directions and sample, then a few things for you to read, and there's one assignment this week. So let's jump back to this page and go over to the view the course schedule, click on the master class schedule, scroll all the way down to week 6, and as you can see, we're talking about something called CSET this week. We've got 2 clicks here, and then we're going to talk about a paragraph that I'm going to show you, and then you've got your homework, okay? So, instead of me doing all sorts of other weird stuff, let's just dive right into CSET now. What is CSET, the basic introduction? We introduce, or if you had me or other teachers like me in 101, reintroduce, the concept of introducing source material into your writing by a 4-step process known as CSET. Very quick, a little history. I think every English teacher has their own way of teaching students how to integrate source material because we've all seen how terrible it can truly be. When you, the student writer, just copies and pastes material from the source, there really isn't a lot of integration. It's just slap this in and move on. It never really works. So instructors like Dr. Bill Lewis from the University of Delaware created a catchy and pithy way to explain the steps needed to really work in your material. Now, my own method also has 4 steps, which were practically identical to this, but I named mine the Shun method for some stupid reason that only I really understood and liked. That's another story, another time. Let's not fall into that. So knowing that pretty much every English teacher has had a version of this method, what is it? Well, CSET here, as you can see, stands for Claim, Setup, Evidence, and Tie-in. There's tie-in. It prevents you from just, again, smacking material in and moving on. It weaves in external references into your own ideas, and then it creates a readable paper. Now let's chat about each section really quickly, shall we? Claim here is literally what you're trying to prove with the section you're writing. Sometimes it ends up being a topic sentence, the first sentence in a paragraph that tells your reader exactly what is remaining in the paragraph. Sometimes the claim will actually be more focused by being a subparagraph of the paragraph. Subpoint of the paragraph. I don't know. My eyes are kind of messed up. Sometimes you might have several claims in a single paragraph, but usually not. You'll have a single claim leading off that paragraph. Regardless, the claim will show your reader what you are trying to prove, and they will assume that what will follow will provide the source to prove it. In setup, it's literally the material to introduce your source material to the reader. It usually includes the source material's main rhetorical information. That would be the source material's author and title, as well as the date of publication or update. After that, you can really add whatever else you'd like to fully flesh out and underline the credibility of that source. You can add the currency, which is the date, again, which you should, the author's educational or employment credentials, or even the source material's credibility if it was published on a website or in an academic journal. This is where many writers choose to establish the beginning of their citation by dropping the author's name and year here. Evidence, well, that's the easy part because you've done this one over and over since junior high. This is literally where you either provide your direct quote or, better yet, your paraphrase of the material. Now, it's a very smart idea to use paraphrases more than direct quotes because with paraphrases, you can direct your ideas in your own words rather than go back and forth with what the author's direction is and what their wording was. Your goal is to explain the material in your own words so that your reader can see cohesiveness throughout your paper. Finally, we have the tie-in section, which, in my opinion, is the most important part of this whole process. Now, I used to call mine explanation, but it's literally the same thing. How does that material that you just put in there connect to the thesis you've already established and the overall flow of the paper as a whole? How does this specific paraphrase or direct quote, but it should be a paraphrase, affect the argument of your paper, and why was it important enough to include within the explanation point set forth in the claim? Basically, here's how it goes. Establish what you want to argue. Set up the material that your author is about to see. Or your reader is about to see. You are the author. Establish the evidence that you are putting in there, and then explain why the evidence works. My method, it used to be preparation, presentation, explanation. Okay? And there's a citation in there too. But preparation, presentation, and citation. Okay? But that's CSET. Now that for those of you who haven't used CSET before, you just slap a quote in there and move on again. I say slap a quote in and move on like 3 times already. But there's no way that you can make the page length requirement if that's the case. You just get confused and tired. If you actually take the time to run your quote or paraphrase through the CSET method or the Shun method, it's the same thing. There's no way that you won't make the minimum page length. Instead of a 1 or 2 sentence quote, you're now adding a minimum of 4 sentences onto each instance. It's truly awesome. Oh, that's not the one I wanted. That's the one I wanted. So, now, going back here, writing samples with and without CSET, we now have this, and it'll show you kind of what somebody thought was a good idea here, which is, makes sense. It's just an example of how much difference it makes. Now, I also have a Microsoft Word document that I think is a lot better than this. But I wanted to show you that, as you can see, paragraph 1 doesn't use CSET. It has a quote, it has another quote, and then you're done. There's no meat in here. Down here, you can actually see it. It introduces, it has the quote itself, then it has an explanation, then it has another claim, it has another quote, or another setup, another quote, and then more explanation. It's easier to read because it's got connective materials. So you can go through the CSET example here, just kind of breaking it down and seeing how to put it together. And that's great. It'll show you exactly what it is. It's color-coded here, and that's wonderful. And then here is a sample paragraph showing you the claim is going to be in burgundy, the setup is going to be in blue, the evidence is going to be in green, the tie-in is going to be in purple. But then we have another setup down here, and another piece of evidence, and yet another tie-in. So as you can see, that's very helpful. However, I also have told you that there is a better document. And here it is. Your claim is in purple, your setup is in blue, your evidence is in green, your tie-in is in purple, or I guess claim would be pink. I gotta change these colors. They're not my colors or somebody else's colors, but I truly think that it should have been red. Whatever. Anyway, you're going to see here that each bit has a little explanation next to it. Claim. The claim will be the topic sentence of the paragraph and should be in your own words. For the Unit 2 essay, the claim will be the argument point that you will address in the paragraph. Well, there you go. We're talking about Elizabeth Gershoff and Susan Perry agreeing that corporal punishment results in the negative outcomes and mindsets, both short and long term. So everything you see in this paragraph is going to back that up. We introduce Gershoff, we introduce Gershoff again, we introduce Perry. We have our evidence here, we have our evidence here, we have our evidence here. We have a short tie-in, and then down here we have a nice long tie-in. And as you can see, each part is also explanatory. So everything that you can see is right here. Now, if this doesn't explain it to your satisfaction, please feel free to email me and I will be more than happy to explain it further. Okay, now let's chat about the long assignment this week. The Unit 2 Informative Writing Graphical Organizer. Man, I am having difficulties today. So clicking on this, we get up here, and we can see that it is indeed a graphical organizer to complete for your paper coming up next week. This will help you if you pay attention to it and fill it out fully. So clicking on this link right here brings up this beautiful document, okay? Now granted, it is 3 pages of boxes to fill in, but if you fill in these boxes each with like 2, 3, 4, 5 sentences, you're going to have one hell of a good paper, okay? So how do we do it? Well, first off, ignore the fact that it says Unit 1 Literature Review is Essay Planner, because I just copied and pasted the header here, and I completely forgot to change it. So it is indeed the Unit 2 essay, but here we go. First, reestablish your general topic. Just put it up there. So if you're writing about cybersecurity task force, great, put it in there. What is your preliminary thesis statement? By that I mean, what is the way that you are starting this discussion? And it can change if you find other source material. That's what preliminary means. It means to start, okay? So what is your preliminary thesis statement? Then we get down into your introduction. As you can see, it's going to be 1 paragraph. What kind of a hook do you think is going to be good for your topic? What do you think is going to make readers want to connect with that material? Then, what sort of controversy is there? There's got to be some sort of, debate. So what is the debate? You're going to explain that in here. If you give me 3 or 4 sentences in this explanation of controversy and fully explain what's going on in the world with your topic, that'll be good enough. And then finally, as you can see here, is a thesis question. Right here, people, is where I know whether or not you've watched the video, you've paid attention to the directions or not. Because we've always been taught to give thesis statements. This paper requires a thesis question for the final sentence of your introduction. It's in the sample, it's in this graphical organizer, it's in the video. If you didn't do it, you didn't interact with any of that material, okay? So ask the question. So for me, if I say that the planet Earth needs a decentralized cybersecurity task force to monitor and enforce cybersecurity laws on the internet, great. That's my thesis statement. My thesis question is, should countries give up the rights to prosecute their own cyber crimes in favor of a multinational organization? Okay? That's a question. Should we do it instead of we should? Get the difference? Okay. Then we get into our background paragraph. And honestly, this is where you're going to illustrate what's going on with the 2 sources that you picked. Give me the title of the article, the name of the authors, the year of the publication. Remember, 5 years or less, 2019 or less. Well, actually, or later, because I guess years don't work like that. So 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024. What was the major purpose? Remember, we talk about persuade, inform, entertain. Was it persuasion and information? Was it information and entertainment? What was it? Okay. And what are some of the main ideas? Give me like 2 or 3 main ideas, okay? And that'll tell me what that article is all about. You're going to do the same thing for the second article. Then down here, any information that you believe the reader might not know but needs to know to understand the overall argument. What is it, okay? What information might you have needed to look up that you didn't know ahead of time, but now you can show your reader, oh, I didn't know this either, but, okay? Because nobody likes to feel stupid, so make sure that your reader has all the information they need. What are any key concepts or shared information, okay? The key concepts would be what are brought up that needs to be understood. This whole paragraph is about setting the stage for what comes next, okay? Then we get into our comparing perspectives paragraphs, 2 paragraphs minimum, and that graphical organizer you did last week, the comparing perspectives essay, where you had to come up with 3 research questions that applied to both of your articles, this is where you use 2 of them. So you're going to pick one of the argument questions that you had last week and put it right here. And then you're going to tell me exactly how the first article dealt with it and how the second article dealt with it, and then how you can combine the 2, how your brain is working to make both of these articles work on the same point. And you're going to do the same thing for point number 2. What was the second question that you asked that you thought was good? What was the evidence to support that, and how you tie everything together, okay? So if you can remember how to do that, this is a very important part of your paper. It's a minimum of 2 paragraphs. Do not combine them. Then down here, the one that I believe is the most important paragraph in the entire paper, the exploratory synthesis, and it's really 1 paragraph minimum because some of you might write and then get into a groove and find out you're like 2 or 3 paragraphs in. That's perfectly fine. Just make sure to focus it. What are your thoughts on the argument? What did you think about the issue prior to finding these articles that you found? What do you think about it now? Has it changed? Has it not changed? Why has it changed? Why has it not changed? Evolution of ideas. Has your mind been changed by any new material? If so, why? What was that material? If not, why not? Do you think there's anything that you could find that would actually change your mind? So that would be interesting. Personal experience. Do you have any actual personal experience with this topic? You know, for my topic of the cybersecurity task force, you know, I was in IT. I remember how to do all that stuff. I am on the internet a lot. Luckily, I've never been hacked. Knock on wood. But that would be something I get angry about when I get a ton of spam mail. So my personal experience isn't necessarily professional experience, but personal. You might have the same basic tie. And then what information do you think you're going to need to find to prove your points, to strengthen your argument, okay? What additional information do you think you will need to find in order to weaken one side of the argument or the other? Okay, that would help out too. And then finally, your conclusion. It's going to be a call to action idea. Considering the information you've presented, what do you want your readers to know, to see, or to do with this new information regarding your topic? Are you trying to inform them of something? So then you want them to know about something. Are you just trying to, illustrate something to see? Or are you trying to get them to get off their butt and write their congressperson or go to the police or whatever it is? That's going to help as well, okay? So that'll be there. And then way back up here in your introduction, you asked a thesis question. Now you answer that thesis question right here, and it becomes your thesis statement. Once you answer that as a thesis statement, that becomes your thesis statement for Unit 3, and Bob's your uncle, okay? And of course, please put your APA references right here. Format them correctly. I have a direct link here on the Purdue OWL site that will help you format your source. Please put them in there because a lot of you will lose points if you just, again, copy, paste, and smack the URL in there, okay? Give it a shot. And that's all, folks. Probably not the shortest video. As a matter of fact, it's probably going to top out at about 19 minutes. But there was a lot to get through, and it was all very important material. I'll shut up now, but I hope everyone had a great week. Please feel free to reach out to me early in the week for help. Enjoy Scooby-Doo. Stay safe. See ya.